Hi, and welcome to tonight's live stream. Today I have company, and this is Shelly Saves the Day. Shelly, introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Shelly, and I have a YouTube channel called Shelly Saves the Day where we talk about YouTube and we talk about how to do video editing or live streaming. So thanks for having me on.
You're so welcome, and you have been an inspiration for me when it comes to live streaming.
Yay! That's such good news. I love
Yeah.
that. I
So
want everyone to do it.
today, when I was planning on talking about Clubhouse, I thought maybe Shelley, I know have opinions about Clubhouse. Yes, Tommy, I'm bringing in the big names here.
We're
Uh,
trying, right?
yeah, so I know you have opinions about Clubhouse,
I
and
do.
I just got myself an iPhone just because I wanted to
The
check it
FOMO is
out.
kicking in, right? You're like, I need to be where the people are. So
Hmm.
I'm going to get myself an iPhone. I get
And
it.
I was thinking about that. I wonder how many people, because I have seen a lot on the internet about people saying, "Oh, should I go get myself an iPhone? I want in on Clubhouse." So I wonder if Apple's sale has risen because of this. Hi,
No.
gamer. Welcome. Dia Talks. Welcome. Tracy, welcome. Yeah, I bought it in lightning speed. I had to if you wanted to get in. So, Shelley, for people that's not on Clubhouse, how would you describe what it is?
Well, I would say that Clubhouse is equivalent to maybe back in the day when there was like a party line where you could use your phone to dial in and listen to all of these different conversations that were happening. But the difference is you can select, the rooms that most align with the things that you're interested in. So I would say that's the closest comparison. And there's all kinds of topics that range from, you know, how do I balance work life and everything in between? And then there's a ton about, YouTube or content creation or TikTok. And then there's just a whole bunch about like real estate or investing. So you can really find anything on there that you're looking for.
My very first impression was after you go over the app. Let me see if I can show it here. This, can you see? No, you can't. This is how it looks. It's
Mhm.
different rooms that you
Yes.
can jump in and out from. And after I had walked around it a little bit, jumped in, jumped out, my first impression, if I should compare it to something, because I'm so old, I was never on those party lines, but I would say that it is a podcast in real time without any replays.
Sure. Yes, that's a very good description.
And as you said, you can find any topic on there, from crazy topics that you're probably not interested in to things that you are really, really interested in.
Exactly.
There is a lot of talk. This will be the next big thing for social media. What's your take?
I think it's a really interesting medium because a lot of people, with the rise in popularity of podcasts, are becoming very attuned to listening to people. And they like it because you get to hear the intonation and the inflection and the pace. And so, of course, that all comes with some pros and cons, but sometimes there's a deeper level of understanding that occurs when you get to hear a person. Um, that is just a freeing element for a lot of people and not having to necessarily worry about what time of the day it is, how you look, if you did your hair and makeup, if you're, dressed appropriately. So there's a certain level of freedom that comes with it. Now, of course, there's a lot of downside as well. But I think that's just one of the reasons why people tend to like it, because there's always that feeling of I get to be a fly on the wall in some of these very important conversations with people I would usually never get to talk to in real life. So there's this real sense of like, wow, this feels like I'm eavesdropping on something that I really shouldn't be listening to, and I'm so lucky. So in that respect, it's kind of a cool way to think about it.
I agree. I think the eavesdropping aspect of it is really tempting in a way. You can't be anonymous because everybody sees that you are in a room,
Mhm.
but you don't need to be a part of the activities. It's for those of you that haven't been on Clubhouse. I already said that there are rooms, and in each room there are levels. You can be a moderator. You have control of who can speak and who cannot speak. You can be a speaker. That means that you have a microphone that you can turn on and off. And you can be a listener. And that means that you don't have access to the microphone and be heard, but you can always raise your hand and be invited up to say something, be invited as a speaker. Oh, they are commenting on your wine.
Mm. Tonight is a Malbec from from not the year, but the bottle says 1895 on it, and it was one of the wines of the Wine of the Month Club that came from Gary V's monthly wine club. So
Oh,
FYI, and it's this actually, I was just as a side note, I was saving this bottle for the end because I thought I would not like it very much, but it's actually my favorite one. So there you go, chin chin, everyone.
there you go. I'm sticking with coffee. That's how
Mm.
Swedish I am.
Mhm. Well, I just downed a whole bunch of tea. I've been drinking tea and coffee all day. And then since like I said, I just got done with my last work meeting for right now, I was like, I'm going to have some wine for now before I have to go back to work. So,
Yeah, you're well worth it. Tracy's plate says it's a game changer for many. You don't need to be camera ready. Yes, that is one thing. But I think most people will continue being listeners for a very long time. I think that is one of the attractions with Clubhouse, that you can jump in and out of these rooms. You can find topics that interest you, and you can just listen in. And there are many interesting conversations going on, and people that you would never hear if it wasn't for um, Clubhouse. I was in
yes.
a room yesterday, they were talking about social media in general, and I tried to jump into many social media rooms since I'm doing social media tutorials. So it's very interesting for me to listen into those rooms. And there was Dr. Mike came in as a speaker, and oh, I'm losing names. News guy.
Philip DeFranco.
Yeah, Philip
I think it
DeFranco.
was his, I saw that. I think it was his welcome party because he just got on the app. And so a lot of people were jumping into the hosting for the brand new
Hmm.
room, like a welcome. And so I saw a bunch of people in there at one point, and I was like, yeah, this is it's everyone's getting on.
Yeah,
So
and I
yeah,
mean that's something that you will not see if you're not in Clubhouse. I mean,
right.
I wouldn't hear him, and it's not prepared. I mean, it's in real time, so people throw you questions, and you can't prepare your answer. You have to be on the fly.
Yeah. I see. It's funny because depending on the quality of the room, you really have to take it with a grain of salt because there are some people up there claiming to be experts. And, some of their advice is awful / borderline illegal. You've got some people who are just happy to listen, and, they're in the audience with millions of subscribers, just soaking it all in, being a student. I was in a room with um, Logan Paul and with Mr. Beast and Daryl Eves, and they were talking about thumbnail strategy. And I'm like, this would never happen. This conversation I would not be part of, even at something like Vid Summit. I wouldn't be here in having this conversation.
No.
So it is amazing for that kind of thing until, it gets ruined, which inevitably it will.
Tommy has a point here. The last week or two, have you noticed the influx of low grade rooms for dating, race complaining, etc.?
So my friend Scott Peachy actually made a really good video about this that came out, gosh, maybe it was just a few days ago. He was talking about some of the fatal flaws about Clubhouse. So he happens to, like myself, work full time, and is married and is trying to do Clubhouse or is trying to do YouTube. And so he had started a room that talks about mental health, balancing being a creator with everything else you do in life. And he was like, for that conversation, it is so much better for my mental health to be in a room with those people who are feeling the same way. So for that, it's a very high quality room. He's scheduling it and moderating it and being part of it. Is there a whole bunch of other like type of conversations that are happening that really kind of don't belong there? And one of the downfalls, like he kind of talked about in his video about the fatal flaws of Clubhouse. On the one hand, you've got great conversations. On the other hand, you've got no one is moderating, no one is policing, no one is making sure that people aren't doing hate speech or things that could be riotous in some way. And so it's really kind of usually when you leave a whole bunch of people to themselves to self-govern or, police themselves in some way, it starts off with the best of intentions and then eventually ends up turning into something ugly, you know?
Yeah,
So that's one thing that they're really going to have to wrap their head around when it comes to security, privacy, and still being able to toggle that line of like, people have freedom to say things, but like, you can't go around being hateful, racist, misogynist, like, and having that be okay in a place where, but what kind of regulations are you going to have for that? So they're going to have to figure that out.
yeah, and how they are gonna supervising it.
Yeah, they
I
can't.
mean,
They have a very small team.
yeah, and whose responsibility will it be? I have noticed one thing when I have jumped around between rooms there. If I get into a room that has too many people as speakers, I know this is not for me. Because one of two things happens. Either people try to talk all at the same time and nothing comes out of it, or everybody is so polite. So when a question is asked, the room get quiet. And the moderator has to ask anybody willing to answer this. Excuse me. So I think there is a magic number somewhere of number of speaker for getting this to work. I
Yeah, and I
don't know
think a
what
lot of
that
it has
number
to
is.
do with the moderators. How many people do
Absolutely.
they let up on stage? How do they process through people who raise their hands and have questions? How do they actually dictate when someone is done and then puts them back into the audience? I mean, so it really is a skill and it is more nuanced than people would like to believe. So a lot of the quality of the room depends directly on the quality of the moderators that are happening.
Absolutely. They also have this, you can set up a room and it can be public, invite, or private.
Yeah.
And I think what will happen if they don't find a way to moderate this, that there will be a lot of invite only and private rooms.
Well, I think it's already starting because people will be like, send me money to this thing and I'll start a private room with you to have a conversation, almost like a one-on-one session like you would for coaching. So that's why you're starting to see a lot of people with like their PayPal links or their Venmo links or not. It's not just a tip jar. It's a pay me if you want to go have a one-on-one session, basically. And I've also started seeing the rise and influx of the influencer who's basically using it as a webinar sales funnel strategy. Like, let me give you a whole bunch of information and then get you into like buying something of mine, which also feels a little weird. So it's already starting. And I know that they're talking about monetizing in some ways. I don't know if that means incentivizing people who are hosting rooms or having rooms sponsored by things. I don't know what that looks like yet, but I'm already seeing, the whisperings of this room is sponsored by, or this conversation is brought to you by. So, yeah.
And that leads me into the next question about Clubhouse. The invite only right now. Right now, Clubhouse is only available on iPhone. And I had some question about that. Was that to hype it up? Or
No.
was it a strategy to really get all the kinks out of the app before they open it up? What do you think?
Well, when it comes to app development, iOS has a very stringent policy on what is and isn't allowed inside of their applications. And so a lot of people find it a lot easier to create an app in iOS. And not only that, they like to do iOS first because iOS has a much smaller population of smartphone users in the world than Android does. So if you're going to make a series of mistakes, you should have it be with, let's say, 1 billion people versus 5 billion people. So it's very strategic for a lot of people to come out with iOS first because of easier parameters to get approved. Like it's a lot easier to develop than it is then, because with iPhones, there's only so many screen sizes that there can be. If you think about how far back in the series you go, let's say it's iPhone 4 or 5, the dimensions of all of those screens up through iPhone 12 or iPad or whatever it is. But with Android, then you've got, some really cheap smartphone that's being put out by Xiaomi, and you've then got Samsung with their $2,500 phones, and then you've got foldables, and you've got like a million other variables. It just makes it so much harder to develop for Android. So it is way more strategic and easier and cheaper to develop for Apple first.
Here we have another comment from Tommy. Ooh, we have a new guest. Welcome to this stream, Mr. Dee Nimmin.
Hey, Dee,
Hey,
welcome.
Well, hello, Pia. Hello, Shelly. How are you tonight?
I'm
we
doing
are
well. How are you?
Great.
I like that you changed the light in the back to like a pink purple haze.
A pink purple haze.
Those are my favorite colors.
Purple haze.
A
Yeah.
pink
love it.
purple haze. Getting my Jimi Hendrix on. Yep.
Purple haze.
What's everybody drinking tonight? I see Shelly has wine. I see Pia has
coffee.
I've got tequila. All right.
Oh, lucky you. You're the winner.
Have you tried the Terramana tequila yet from The Rock?
Shelly, you dropped out on us.
Oh, no. I said, have you tried the Terramana tequila from The Rock? I really want to try it, but I don't drink tequila.
Yeah.
There you go, Tommy.
Oh, hey,
Tommy, you were invited, so don't say anything. You chose to skip me.
What were you talking about before I came on? I wasn't listening in the background.
Well, we were talking about how Clubhouse, why it might have been a strategic move on the developer's part to become iOS first before going out onto Android. And I was trying to explain that due to limitations of screen sizes and the ease of flexibility and development and the smaller pie of people actually using it, that it's way smarter to start with iOS than it is to start with an Android.
Yeah, that's
now
correct.
You're caught up.
100% spot on there.
Yeah, excellent answer from Shelly. Before that, we talked about our first impressions a little bit, about how it starts to feel like someone take advantage of Clubhouse, starting private rooms and starting to try. How was it you expressed it, Shelly? You see links that...
Yeah, I was saying that I'm already seeing people monetize, like, we can start a private room with like a one-on-one coaching session if you pay me, or pull to refresh and send me some stuff via Venmo, or this is the top of my funnel for my webinar, and then I'm getting people to buy my. So I'm already seeing that infiltration of this is how I'm going to make money on the platform.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So my first 2 weeks of Clubhouse, I spent a lot of time in there. And don't get me wrong, I still like it. And I think it's going to be a force to be reckoned with for social media. And I think it's a fantastic platform. But I always thought that it's going to be great unless the marketers ruin it. And like you said, I'm going into so many rooms and that sort of thing is happening. And it's like, well, hey, go over to my profile. You can go in and you can, check out my course. And it's just like, oh no, here we go. It just, it just.
I have my course listed in my bio. What are you saying?
You know what though? But you're probably not driving people to it. Like,
I'm not. No,
I can go into a financial room and I can sit in there for 30 minutes and I can hear multiple people driving people to their courses, over the course of 30 minutes. It just feels like, it's just going to turn into another marketing thing.
It is.
That's just going to kill it.
I felt like I was literally listening to someone that we know, an Instagram guru, basically pitch almost what seemed verbatim, like the very same presentation that we'd probably seen them do before, just without their slides, verbally doing it. And I was just like, it just feels top of funnel for me. This is what it is. And it just feels kind of icky. So.
Yeah. So what I've done is I've started saying not interested, because you can, swipe, or you can press and hold and say not interested now. So I've been getting rid of a ton of rooms because I have found that there are some great rooms. Like I love when Daryl goes into a room, Daryl Eves, or, Mr. Beast. I love when a lot of high level people go into specific rooms and they're not really trying to sell you anything. They're just sharing, information and answering questions. I like those, and I'm just having to get rid of everything else. But I've been spending less and less time in there.
Yeah.
I said earlier that I have found that if I go into the room and there are too many speakers in the room, it will not be a room for me, because one out of two things will happen. Either they all try to talk at the same time, or someone asks a question and everybody is so polite, so nobody takes initiative to answer. So there is room, I would guess around 10 speakers would be rooms that functions well.
Yeah, a poorly moderated room.
That's what I said. It depends on the mod, like more so than anything else. They're really the ones who kind of control the pacing of the room, so all of that is so important.
Yeah, a poorly moderated room will turn me off and I'll leave. And, when you have a room that's not being moderated correctly, they allow people to go in and, like, well, let me tell you about my backstory. Let me tell you how I came here. And she's like, come on, just get to your question. I don't care where you grow up or you grew up. I don't care where you went to school. I don't care. You have a question, ask your question, right?
Last Thursday, I did that exact same rant. And here's what I did: a Clubhouse etiquette 101 video, because I was like, I'm so tired of going in and listening to people like do it incorrectly, moderate incorrectly. And I'm like, one day when all of the Android users come in, I want this video to come up and like have it be, these are the rules of the road and etiquette when it comes to Clubhouse. And this goes for moderators, audience members. This is for everyone. So I even like, I took special care to try and timestamp it. I'm like, go listen to the rules of Clubhouse, please.
Yeah.
And that was one of them, is like having a moderator that can say like, thank you for that. I don't care about the life story. I just need the question, because this is question and answer time, not question and life story time.
I was in a room yesterday where the moderators handle it very well. They said, we give you 30 seconds each, one question.
Yep. And I said, if you can't do your thing in 30 to 45 seconds, like, it's too long. And I was like, there was a great guy that gave the example of like even a script that you can use. It was, say one nice complimentary thing about the person who brought you up on stage or someone on stage if they've affected your life in some way. Say your name or what your channel is, and then state your question. And that's it. If you can't get it done in 30 seconds, then it's too long.
What is Tommy saying here? I saw Benji create a room today. He leaves. Then they have people like me on stage teaching YouTube. I was blown away I'm not qualified to make toast, let alone teach YouTube.
Well, you got a lot of experts up there. And
Yep.
that's one of the things is there's not really a way to sometimes disqualify or qualify one over the other. And sometimes it comes down to who's willing to spend the most time on stage, because they who talk the longest and the loudest seem to come away as the expert. And when I was saying earlier, I'm like, sometimes it's just wrong information. Sometimes it borders on illegal information. And I'm just like, why? Don't listen.
There's a lot of really bad information on there, especially with YouTube. I've gone into a couple of decent sized rooms, and it's people that I'm not familiar with, and they're just in there straight up telling people like, yeah, if you want to grow, what you want to do is just ask them to subscribe to your channel, then you subscribe to their channel. It's called
like sub for sub.
Oh yeah, there's like entire rooms on like the sub for sub thing, and I'm just like, you got to be kidding me. So I was in one room. It was like it was me and maybe 3 or 4 other YouTubers with like millions of subs each, like huge channels. And there was one guy in there who started the room, and I looked at his channel. He had like 300 subscribers. He was arguing with everybody that sub for sub was actually good. And all these huge channels are like trying to explain in detail to the audience what was actually happening. And he was just like arguing with everybody. He's like, no, man, I was able to get 300 subscribers this way. You guys don't know what you're talking about. You're just lucky.
I'm not trying to pull out the measuring stick or anything, but my 130,000 subscribers are saying that's not the way to do it.
But there were people with millions of subscribers that were telling him, like, no, that's not the way to do it. And I ended up leaving. I was just like, I gotta go.
In that video, I was saying Mike from Slice and Rice was in several of the rooms, and he's got like 2.5 million subscribers. Super nice, quiet, just likes to listen. And I'm like, if he can sit in the audience and listen and learn, not feel the need to come up on stage and spout, why do you think you need to be up there, raise your hand for every question, and like give all this information? Like, why are you so important that you have to be up on stage? You know what I mean? It was just one of those where I'm like, sometimes you got to check yourself before someone else wrecks yourself.
I like when you get into a room and the moderator knows who they have invited up on stage. So when a question comes, they know who to direct it to as the first person to answer. Those room feels like, here I can get something out of it.
Yeah, we're just like picking on Clubhouse. I just came in to pick on Clubhouse. So, yeah, and another thing where I'm just kind of like, oh, come on. Like sometimes you'll be in a room. Take Dara Leaves, for example. Like Dara Leaves is the grand poobah of YouTube, and like if you have an opportunity to ask someone like Daryl a question, like make it a real question. Make it a good question, something that can really make a difference in your channel.
Like, how do I increase my watch time? And I'm like,
no, even worse. I've seen him come on and go, hey, hey, Daryl, how's it going? It takes 20 minutes to get into the question. And like, so I was just wondering, how can I grow fast?
Yeah, how do I get more subscribers? And I'm like, that's your question. Goodness.
Like,
that's your question.
Like this dude charges like $5,000 for like a coaching session, and you just ask him how to grow fast. Come on, come on.
And this is a little worrisome for when they open for Android as well, because if they don't get this under control now, it will be catastrophe, I think.
Yeah. I think they're going to have some issues. I think they're going to have some issues when they open up Android. They are bringing in the rest of the world, and a lot of the world
does not think is the same or as tolerantly.
A lot of them, they're not as tolerant. They don't have, there's cultural differences and stuff like that. And I mean, some of you who have audiences from certain regions of the world know that there's no filter sometimes from some of these places, and that's going to bring in millions and millions and millions of Android users. So I'm concerned about that.
I'm concerned too. And I know, like I was saying earlier, my friend, Lord Peachy, Scott Peachy, had made that video about there's no moderation really. There's no self-regulation in ourselves. There's no that's going to be really, really rough. And what are you going to do if it's like Antifa or QAnon rooms or whatever it is, just cleverly named because they didn't have a place like Parler or Facebook or wherever to congregate anymore? Like, what?
Yeah.
This is a little bit, you talked about the party lines you could call into. I don't have that experience, but it is a little bit like the old chat rooms. IRC and those,
Yeah.
and they don't exist anymore. So because I really like the audio only aspects of it. You can listen into a room while you do other things. For example, when I sit and work on graphics, I love to listen in if there is an interesting room running. So that is a big advantage, I think. I have always loved podcasts, and this is like a continuance of podcast. This is podcast in real time without replay. But there is a lot to be worried about as well.
You know, if they mess it up, they mess it up. They have a good thing going, and I don't know how they're going to manage all the Android users when they come in. I don't know how. I mean, their servers are having problems with iOS users, and it's not even fully open yet. Like, it's still invite only, and their servers are crashing on a regular basis. And it's growing pains. They just got approved for what they like $1 billion that they can get now for developing that thing. I mean, so they've got the money, but at the same time, they have
9 developers.
Yeah, they have a lot of issues that they're going to have to deal with. They say they have an algorithm, and they say by hiding the rooms, the algorithm learns what you like. So hopefully that gets dialed in, so I don't see a bunch of rooms full of fraudulent people. One of my guilty pleasures is I love going into. Well, first of all, I'm convinced that everyone on Clubhouse, except for the people that I know, they're all millionaires. Only the people I know are not millionaires. Everyone else seems to be like a millionaire, and they work with Fortune 500 companies. Oh, yeah. When you look at their profile, everybody's like, oh, Forbes this and Fortune 500 this, and I made my first million here, and I'm just like, okay. Then you look at their Instagram, and they're just like wilding out. They're like wilding out with their butt hanging out of their shorts, and like just completely inappropriate pictures. And I'm like, there's no way. There's no way you're putting that on your Instagram if you are who you say you are. So I think there's a lot of fraud going on.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. I mean, you can put whatever you want,
Right.
And that's the bad thing about it is literally anyone can put whatever they want.
Right.
Yeah. That's why I am the Queen of Sweden in my profile.
Why not?
No, I'm not. I don't know. I think they would come and arrest me if I pretended to be the Queen of Sweden. But I was
in Thailand, there is a woman who got put in jail and punished because she just spoke badly of the prince, which is illegal in Thailand. And so, they made an example out of her, and she just got sentenced. And it's really sad.
Yeah, I saw that. That's not how it is in Sweden. In Sweden, we can make fun of our royalties.
Yeah, we can't do that in Thailand. Even as foreigners, we're not allowed to. You can't even make fun of them. You can't say anything negative about the royal family, even if it's true. Yeah. Even if it's true and there's a scandal or something happened, you can't comment about it. You can't do commentary about it while you're actually living there, because they will arrest you and they'll sentence you to 15 years in prison. Yeah. 15 years in prison. There was a case years ago where somebody was flying over. It was a businessman. He was in first class, and he was sitting next to the princesses. And she asked him to turn his light off. She was trying to sleep, and he wouldn't do it. And then when they landed in Bangkok, they arrested him and charged him with that. So they use that law as a weapon.
Yeah. That brings a new question, actually, when it comes to Clubhouse. We know how internet and social media in many cases has been important for countries that are living under conditions like you just explained in Thailand. What do you think Clubhouse will it be able to do something for people that lives in conditions like that?
It depends on where their servers are.
Yeah, and it depends on what they can record. If someone is recording like either without knowledge or can prove who it was that said things, and depending on the country, like if you were in China or Thailand, like you just mentioned, it could be potentially dangerous to people, their livelihood, their lives.
But
Yeah.
one of the things with Clubhouse is that you're not allowed to record. I
That does
know
not stop people.
they can never control that.
And so I was talking about that, on Thursday. I was saying, one, you are already starting to see it because people are already figuring it out. Two, some people are putting the name of the room and then saying that with an icon and saying recording. And I said, three, I think one that's not as offensive is like if you were going to do a live podcast per se, and you invited no one up on stage and you were only broadcasting what you were saying. I don't think that's as bad because you're not infringing on anyone else's right. You're not publicly saying who it is because you're only broadcasting yourself, and you're also broadcasting it on other mediums. So I don't think that one's as bad. But let's not also forget that in some states, if someone was, to have you in a recording, there are laws that state, you can't ever use that or release it without the consent of the other person who's on that conversation. So potentially it could also get you in legal trouble for recording or sharing or leaking that recording. But what would you do if that recording was someone talking about a crime or talking about something potentially dangerous against the government, like which law then takes effect? I mean, there's just a lot of like creeps and not like creepy people. I mean, like just stuff that's creepy. So
Well, in countries with oppressive governments, those sort of rules don't apply. They just pretty much do whatever they want to do. So if they
or you
want to
got
hold,
TikTok, where like India just shut
Right.
it down completely, and you just
Yeah.
have to go through like you don't even know. Like
right,
China could just say, nope, not on any of our servers, not on any of our internet. Like it's very possible they can do something like that.
I was actually thinking because on Monday, I did the video where I talked about my first impression about Clubhouse. And since I do social media tutorials, I was thinking, how the heck am I going to be able to do a tutorial about Clubhouse?
why?
I can't really show the rooms. I can't use.
Sure you can. Sure you can.
You have to be very descriptive with what you're doing. You'd have to say like, on your screen, you're going to see a microphone icon underneath, a profile photo. And you have to be like way more descriptive because people who don't have the ability to see. So it takes longer to say and describe and do anything that you want to do or teach, but it's possible.
Or I
Gotcha.
have to take screenshots and then erase all the names and all the pictures and.
I think Michael, Shelly, I haven't seen your tutorial yet, so I don't know how you made yours, but I know Michael Stelzner. Michael Stelzner from Social Media Marketing World, he's made some great tutorials on Clubhouse. And so I don't know how you censored things or showed things, Shelly, but I know he did a lot of animation stuff with his, which I found interesting.
When I did my original walkthrough, which is on my vertical video channel, I was doing a welcome party for a couple of people that I had just brought in. So like Travis and P and Viper actually, and El Jefe.
I did see that. Yeah. I'm sorry. I did see that.
No, you're fine. So I did a private room with just the four of them, and I got all of their verbal consent that they were okay to just show their image or their icons. So I didn't try and like record anything else.
Yeah, I remember having you had Travis. You just had a couple people in there, and Travis was one of them. I think you like moved him down to the audience or something to show.
Yeah, I was just demonstrating how you can pull people up or what that looks like, and so I just did a quick overview because I had just taught them, or I was teaching them about how to use Clubhouse. So I had just taught it to someone, and then I think Viper, I was inviting him in, and then I said, hey, so I'm going to do this whole spiel again. Do you guys mind if I screen record this and put this up as a tutorial? And they were all like, no problem. So I did the exact same walkthrough that I did with someone else, and I just did it there.
Okay.
And I used another phone. I used a phone, a different phone to record my screen, so I didn't have to like screen record.
That's a good idea but I think they will have problems preventing people from recording, and because we know how people are.
Well, they can't. So I was in the town hall last Sunday, and they brought up screen recording. And what they said is, if you're going to record the room, you have to have explicit permission from everyone in the room. But they said, however, we're not going to enforce this. We're telling you that you need to have permission, but this is not something we can enforce. So that was their way of saying,
Legally, we're
we can't-
saying this, but
Exactly.
washing our hands of liability as long as
That's
we give
exactly
you
what
the
it
legal
was.
jargon. Yeah.
Right. Now, I will say this. If you go to screen record on a mobile device, you do get a warning pop-up that tells you not to record. But, hearing them in the town hall saying that they can't really do anything about it, what are you going to do? Just, if you're going to record, just like Shelly did, create a little private room. Let people know that it's going in on a tutorial and you're going to record it and go about your day.
That's a good idea. Yeah, that's how you can do it. So
because they say they say if you're going to record, you have to have permission from everyone in the room.
Yeah. In my last video where I didn't show anything, today I just showed like this fast. Nobody could see who was on the screen. But I did go over the guidelines from Clubhouse in my last video, my first impression. Here we have one. Tell us, Tommy, did you record or did you not? Did you stop your
Threatening
recording?
my life if I did it again. And yet you're still here, or maybe you didn't do it again. So
Maybe it didn't. Who knows? So what do we think the future of Clubhouse will be?
Complicated,
Shelly, Dee?
messy.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So just like, we're already seeing with, I don't know what it was, like 2 million new users last week, something I think they said 2 million or 2 million total, something like that. It's already, you're navigating through a cesspool and garbage pile to find the nuggets that you want. And so there's going to be more crap that you have to sort through to find the stuff that's actually interesting. So there's a percentage of the people that are going to be like, I am out. I am not about this finding. There's a lot of people who are going to be a lot more selective about the amount of time that they'll be willing to dedicate to it. And I think you're going to see a rise and uptick in scheduled rooms with scheduled people at scheduled times. And I'm not going to mess with it otherwise. So if you're not in that group or list or whatever it is, I'm not just going to browse into your room. So the discoverability factor isn't going to be as high. And I think that the shininess of it will wear off a lot when everyone else comes in, because it's no longer exclusive. What's the real joy and benefit for some of the people to be in there if they haven't figured out the best ways to monetize? So why would Logan Paul want to be in there versus spending time recording a podcast where he can get thousands upon thousands of dollars for a sponsored spot or something like that? And that's one of the things I touched on in mine is like, it's this shiny object right now, but for people like ourselves who are content creators, I would much rather see people spend, instead of 10 hours, I'd rather see them spend 2 hours like they would on a podcast, and then spend 8 hours on content and things that actually makes their channel be better. Because I also talked about how I was up on a panel with Sean Cannell, and Sean's great. And I was saying, but he's running a business with 13 employees, going from, multiple millions a year into even more money. And I'm at the stage of my life where I'm trying to figure out how to be able to dump my corporate job again and just make enough money on YouTube. But someone else is at the stage where they haven't even made their first YouTube video yet, and they're still figuring out how to create their first video. So it's just like, you have to really take it with a grain of salt, because a lot of people are not in the same season of the life. So listening to that can actually paralyze you with fear and confuse you. So I feel like people are going to have to be a lot more selective in the future about how much time they spend, which rooms they spend it with, and who they choose to listen to.
Yeah, that's spot on. Also, Twitter is going to be a competitor. They have Twitter Spaces that they're beta testing that they'll be rolling out later this year. So that's going to, everybody loves Twitter. I love Twitter.
I think that's going to be cool. I think I like it because a lot of people already have huge audiences on Twitter too. So it's not like, hey guys, everyone come find me on Clubhouse. It's like my existing people. I already know that you like me and vibe with me or whatever because you follow me. Let's start a room. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I was in a couple of spaces a month ago when they were beta testing it. I ended up in a couple, I didn't even know what it was. It just started popping up at the top of my feed. I'm obviously following somebody. So I went up there, and it's exactly like Clubhouse. And in the first one I was in, they were actually making fun of Clubhouse about how Clubhouse wasn't as optimized. And at that time, I was like, what is Clubhouse? And then I'm on Clubhouse 2 weeks later.
Was it audio?
It's exactly like Clubhouse.
Yeah.
It looks the same. It functions the same. It's exactly like Clubhouse.
Been in one of those rooms yet.
Yeah, and it shows at the very top of Twitter. So you know how when somebody uploads a fleet, right? The stories up on top of Twitter. So you have like the little round icons at the top of Twitter to let you know that someone uploaded a fleet. When spaces happen, you have a cluster of those profile pictures that looks like a cluster of fleets with like a little colored circle around them, like a lasso.
I'm like,
And that
looking,
means
but
that,
I don't have it.
and that means that those people are having a discussion right now, and you can tap on that and actually go in and join the discussion. They can pull you up on stage. There's moderation. It is 100% exactly like Clubhouse, only you don't have a profile because Twitter's your profile.
Yeah.
I love that.
Oh.
Actually, I like it actually a lot better.
Yeah.
So when that rolls out, we don't know what Clubhouse will end up.
A lot of people won't have to use it because if you think about the fact that people have huge audiences on Twitter, like already. And so why not just go to live or whatever it is with the people that are there that are already like subscribed to you basically, then starting from zero, no matter how fast you grow over on Clubhouse to like a different audience. Like for me, like if I was someone with 4 million, so I don't know, like Chrissy Teigen with 50 million subscribers or something on Twitter, why would you have to go to Clubhouse?
Yeah,
and especially because like
absolutely.
right now, she can reach way more people on all platforms instead of just the iOS folks who just happen to finally have an invite to come find her.
Yeah. I mean, I like my Twitter following, it's a little over 5,000 right now. Not that all 5,000 would go into a Twitter Spaces with me, but I could probably get a decent amount of people if I went on at the right time. Where over on Clubhouse, I haven't started my own room yet. But like you said, Shelly, you're starting at zero. You're starting at zero over on Clubhouse. You've got to get people to come in. Where you've got a Twitter following, you're going, hey, boom, here's what's happening right now, and every single person who follows you can see that there's a conversation going on once this completely rolls out to everybody. It just makes
you can send them links. You can send them like you could, and if you don't want to DM them, you can just tweet at them. I mean, if you want to keep it out of the DMs and just tweet at them. I mean, the communication is so much easier and faster on Twitter too. And I love that if I'm going to send a tweet to someone or they're going to tweet me, they only have 240 characters, whatever it is, to 280 characters. So they can't, unless they're going to start 1 of 10 type things, then I'm glad I'm not in a DM with them. But like, I'm like, and I would much rather keep a lot of those messages public, because if someone else wants to chime in or has an opinion, or maybe they would be a little less likely to say something completely out of line and derogatory, you never know. So I'd much rather see it on Twitter.
I agree with you. I can see that, as we talked about earlier before Dee came in, I can see how it can be useful for me to go in as a little fly on the wall and listen to Daryl Eves and people like that I wouldn't have the opportunity to listen to if it is in a well-moderated room where they stay within topic. But besides that, I much rather be a member of Dee's channel on YouTube and part of his Facebook group, and I learned so much more from that than from hanging on Clubhouse.
You're in the wrong rooms.
No,
you need to follow more people.
No, I think I've been in some really interesting rooms, but I don't know.
A lot of it too is just regurgitated information. I mean, there's always unless you are having a conversation with someone who's playing at a higher level, then it's all information that you've already heard.
Yeah.
So I like to go in rooms where there's at least one person in there who I know is either playing at a higher level or playing somewhere different than I am, right? So I think I was talking to Tommy Bernard about this on his show a couple nights ago. And Shelly, because you're a YouTube coach, so you can probably appreciate this as well. YouTube likes to trap us in a bubble, right, in terms of what we see and what's being shown to us on a regular basis. And if we work with certain channels, all we see as YouTube educators are the channels who come to us, who want to work with us, or what's inside of our bubble. So Clubhouse has really allowed me to connect with channels that I normally don't have access to, and connect with them offline, like really large family channels. Like that's just stuff that I usually don't have access to. So now I'm building the relationship with people like that offline, and sending them messages back and forth about, hey, how's this with your data? So I'm like tapping into resources that I normally couldn't tap into. So for that, from a YouTube perspective, I'm finding it really helpful. So when I go into a room, if it's YouTube related, I like to find someone who's either playing at a higher level than I am or is playing in a different area than I am, that I can learn from. But if it's just all the same people, and then I'm just kind of like, I'll hang out for a little bit, just to be social, and then I got to go. I got other things to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, as I said earlier, I try to go into social media rooms just to listen, to sit that. Since I'm trying to do social media tutorials, it's really interesting to go in and listen to people that are, for example, go into an Instagram room and listen to what they discuss about Instagram, the people that have Instagram as their main I'm losing words.
Social media.
Yeah, as their main platform. That's the word, platform. So, or go into a TikTok room and listen. That gives me food for thought when I'm planning my YouTube channel. But I'm really just a fly on the wall, listening, try to pick up ideas on what I could work on for my YouTube channel. But the advantage, as I said, being a member of your group, Dee, and being in your Facebook group is that you don't have the possibility to follow up in Clubhouse unless you get that personal connection with someone. In your Facebook group, if I have asked a question and I think I got it right, I can always come back and ask you, is this what we talked about? Have I understood this right? That is not a part of Clubhouse. You get it or you don't get it.
Right.
Well, yeah, it's a totally different experience.
It is.
It's podcasting live in real time, and there's no replay.
Yeah.
Right.
You get what you get. If you're there, you're there. If you miss it, you miss it.
But that is also what can attract people to it, I think. That's why people are in Clubhouse 12 hours of the day, because what if I miss something?
I just think it's the wrong attitude, man, because that's why I said, like, I'd rather see them, instead of wearing that like a pride badge, I would rather see them do 2 hours and then spend 10 hours on going back and looking at their data, updating thumbnails, updating descriptions, updating, like making new videos, scripting and bullet pointing the stuff that is going to work for them in the future, instead of spending all their time waiting for some golden nugget to drop from the sky from someone at the right time in the wrong place. Like I said, and then who's not at the same stage of life or like that you are. And I'm like, just go create content, go. And like, that's why I was saying, like, go consume less, create more, have more data to make data-driven decisions. Like, that's how it works. It's like, until you shut it off and go do, then you don't.
I mean, I have only been on there for a week, and I have already several times. I use it. I turn it on when I go to bed to see if there is something interesting to listen to as I lay down and prepare myself for sleep. And I turn it on. I told Shelly earlier, I take care of my handicapped sister-in-law, and we have a lot of driving. I'm not driving. My other sister is driving to doctor's visits and all of this. And when I'm sitting in the car driving, I can turn it on and see, is there something interesting? And after only a week, I have already started thinking, oh, is he still there? Is she still there? People that I see, no matter what time of the day I open my Clubhouse, the same people are on there.
Yeah, I find that interesting too. In some of the millionaire rooms where these people are supposedly like multi-millionaires, and like I can see, I can wake up, I can check in, I see them in there. I'll check in like 6 hours later, they're in there. I can check in before. I'm like, how in the world have you built your business if you're spending all day in Clubhouse? Like how, like, I don't know, like all the wealthiest people I know, like their time is, they're precious. Their time is precious. Like they're not spending their time messing around on social media apps. Yeah, they might do little stuff here and there, but they're not spending all day, day after day after day after day after day on these social media apps. So I'm just like, man, the fraud on here is out of control.
Yeah.
Out of control.
Yep.
I agree. Well, we are nearing, I'm actually trying to be very disciplined today. We have 6 minutes left before I am up to the hour. And I want to ask everybody in the chat if you have any questions. Since I am lucky to have these two guests here today, anybody has any questions for Shelly or Dee or even me, maybe? Your chance is now before this comes to an end.
Yeah. And can we get a round of applause for Pia on her first guest live streaming experience?
Thank
Oh,
you.
I
really?
mean,
This is the first
yes,
one?
I think we are the first. So that's why
Really?
I put out on Twitter and like this is her very first guest time like doing a stream. So like that is well done. Well done.
I didn't know that. Well done. All right.
And I am a part of Shelly's Facebook group that is Keep It Simple Streaming.
We just started it. If you want to come join, you're more than welcome. We're just having a warm, supportive place for people who are breaking into streaming. And we're not going to get complicated. We're not doing crazy overlays. It's like my first time streaming. How do I get the confidence to do this? And then the more experienced people can be like, I'm your cheerleader. If you have questions, I'll help you. But yeah.
And
no pressure, but if you want to join,
put this on. Is that familiar, Dee?
Hey, you changed the colors.
I changed the colors. Since I took the pink out of my hair, I had to put it somewhere. So it ended up in the background.
There, out of your hair and onto the background. I love it.
I had to use it somewhere.
I love it.
So, chat, what are you saying? Do we have any questions here?
My class in eBite says, aside from us, who should they be following on Clubhouse?
What are your interests?
Yeah, it really depends. If you do want to be involved in some of the YouTube-y type stuff, you could follow Viper. And the reason why I say that is because he does end up moderating a ton of rooms. And so if you have that kind of notification turned on, he does go live in there a lot or moderate a lot. So you get some cool notifications to see if there are other people or topics that you might be interested in. So that might be a good one for following.
I agree. I'm following Viper.
What's up, people? The man about tech.
The man about tech.
It's your boy Viper here. The man about tech.
I will say that he has done a very good job, just as he does on his own live streams, of being able to moderate correctly and be able to model what that should look like. So if you're wondering, when Dee and I say we've seen a lot of rooms that are moderated well and some that are not well at all, if you watch some of his rooms when he's a moderator, it can be a good set of what to do's more so than what to avoid.
I think actually he moderated the room where he set the 30 seconds and one question. I'm pretty sure it was Viper. Yeah, I agree. He's really good.
Yeah, if your interest is YouTube, I would recommend, of course, following Daryl Eves. Anytime I see Daryl speak, I try to go in one of those rooms if I can. I love listening to Mr. Beast, Jimmy. I think he always has interesting nuggets to share. You know, somebody playing at a very high level. It's interesting when he goes on and find people like that, and then go and look at who they're following, and then go follow some of those people.
Sean Cannell just signed up along with Benji Travis, and I will say that on Thursdays, which is going to be tomorrow at 3:00 PST, Heather Torres, myself, Liz, I think her name starts her last name starts with B, and then Jessica Stansberry, and I think someone else. We are doing kind of now a scheduled room, which is women helping women on YouTube, and men are still absolutely invited. You can ask questions, just be supportive, but it's kind of carved out time and space that they had created and asked if we want to kind of continue to be a part of it. So if you happen to be a female YouTuber or want to have a place where you can ask some other females that are kind of doing the YouTube thing, that would be a good room to follow. So that would be Jessica Stansberry, Heather Torres from the Think Media team, myself are in there, and then the room moderator is Liz, and you'll see it on the thing. If you look in the calendar, you'll probably see it. She's on there as well.
Yep, sounds awesome.
I will try to come in tomorrow at 3:00. That sounds very interesting. Okay, it seems like our chat don't have any specific questions for you. I want to thank you, Shelly Saves today, and Dee Nimmin, and I know everybody in the chat is familiar with the two of you, but thank you for making my first guest live stream so easy.
I'm honored to be on here. I wish you would have told me it was your. Maybe you did, and I didn't read it. I apologize if you did tell me that, but
I didn't tell you that.
you didn't tell me. Okay, that's what I thought.
You gotta act like a pro.
Shelly asked me. That's how she knows.
Oh,
I wouldn't say that. I mean, it is what it is.
You did a great
congratulations.
job.
Yeah, congratulations.
It's nerve-wracking having any guests on and being able to manipulate behind the scenes, bringing them up on stage, making sure that people can hear them, being able to regulate a chat and still bring on comments while trying to keep a flow. If no one has ever done it before, they don't understand sometimes some of the sweating and heart palpitations that come along with the first few times that you have multiple people on a stream and it's not just yourself. So you handled it like a champ. I'm very proud of you. You did a great job.
If Shelly wouldn't have said something, I would have never known.
Would have never known.
I would have thought that you just do guest live streams all the time. So you handled this like a pro. Absolutely.
Like a pro.
Thank you very much. And I'm so glad to have you here. I'm glad for everybody in the chat. My E-Class invites, Tommy, Gina, Tracy.
Who invited Tommy, though? That, we
it
generally...
was
but you know what? He stood me up. I actually invited him to be on panel, and he stood me up.
She's not still mad about it at all.
Oh.
So...
she had to settle for us.
Ghana. Who else did we have in there? Gamer, if he hasn't fallen asleep, he's in England. So Travel Moments. I'm trying. Philip Picker. Did I miss anyone? If I missed anybody, I'm so sorry, and I'm so grateful for all of you to be a part of my first guest live stream.
You did awesome.
Thank you, and you are all welcome back next Wednesday, same time. Bye.